Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Siddaraju, and I have around 3 years of experience working in Sitecore Commerce. So, in this session, we are going to talk about uh, basics of Sitecore Commerce and then a little bit of details on the implementation. So, what does an e-commerce system offer? Now, when before you start with the project, there are a few things that you need to consider on choosing an e-commerce system. One of the first thing is you need to decide, you probably already know that the business scenario is B2B or B2C, or you need to do both. So depending on the situation, you can choose different platforms. Some of the platforms are specifically designed for B2B or B2C, and some of them support both the cases. And then the next thing is the integration with web content management system. So if you are using Sitecore Commerce or any other e-commerce system, you have to basically try to figure out how well it integrates with the e-commerce website part of your application. And then support for e-commerce marketing. So this is obvious. So any e-commerce platform should be allowing us to do basic creation of promotions and marketing related stuff, like creating email templates, or allowing you to create offers for different date ranges. Yeah, this is something you need to keep in mind. And then the support for full faceted search. So this is very important if you are going to allow facet based search for the users. If you want to allow users to drill down into products based on multiple attributes of products, so an e-commerce system should by default support this search. And then integration with the external platforms. So this is also an important aspect. In many cases, you probably want to push your e-commerce data into the external systems, external ERP systems, specifically like SAP, or a different database systems. Store localization. If you have business doing in multiple, if you are doing business in multiple regions, so an e-commerce system should be able to provide you an option to do language multilingual site. Plugin based architecture. So in most cases we end up writing some custom code that is specific to our own you know business scenario. Like if you have if you have agreement, or if you are using different tax service providers, you will probably need to write your own plugin that will talk to the specific tax service APIs. Similarly, shipping providers, there are multiple shipping providers, uh, for example FedEx. So if you are using FedEx to fulfill your orders, and then if you are shipping your orders through FedEx, so this you probably need to write the plugins that will connect to FedEx APIs, and then you provide the users with an option to track their orders. So these are some of the plugins that you probably need to write. And another important plugin that we all need to implement in the e-commerce system is payment gateway. So in most cases, all the e-commerce system allow customization via plugins. And the last part is the product technical support. So if you are going for commercial systems, um, the technical support is an important aspect. So that is something you need to keep in mind. So coming back to the Sitecore experience commerce, now if you have decided to go with the Sitecore commerce, there are two options. One is using the Sitecore Experience Commerce 9, that is whatever is called as Commerce Engine, along with the business tools, whatever the business BizFX tools that Sitecore calls it. And then the other option is using the Sitecore Commerce Connect package and then using it along with an external commerce system. External commerce systems, there are multiple examples that we can give. For example, Inside Commerce, SAP Hybris, or the e-commerce. These are all some of the external commerce systems. So you can use the Commerce Connect and then a different external commerce system. So first thing we are going to talk about Commerce Connect, and then we'll go into a little bit of discussion about the Commerce Engine. So Commerce Connect, it's basically a Sitecore package that you can download and install. It ships with the necessary DLLs and the configuration files. So it is used to connect to external commerce system. What it does is it has abstract layers. So if you take any e-commerce system, you by default you will expect that it provides some services, right? So for example, cart service, pricing service, orders, inventory, and many more. So each service layer comes with its own configuration files. So Commerce Connect basically ships with the default, the necessary configuration files and the DLLs for each of the services that in most cases that you will need. For example, if you take cart service layer, it has its own configuration files. If you go into app config, once you have the Commerce Connect package installed, and then you go into the app config, include sitecore.commerce.cards.config file, you will see that there is a list of pipelines, and then each pipeline will have some processors and then additional configuration related to cards functionality. Similarly, for catalog service layer, customers and research service layer, and then there are many more files under the app config folder. Product data is synced using custom connectors. So we will discuss this in the next slide. This is basic the architecture of the Commerce Connect. Here you have the Sitecore Experience platform on the bottom, and then these three layers form the Commerce Connect core framework. It's basically whether you use the Sitecore Commerce Engine or an external commerce system, whatever you use, the Commerce Connect core is the base. So in the Commerce Connect core, you have the Commerce Connect product catalog model. This basically product catalog model is basically templates. It's Sitecore templates for each product catalog, for each item that you can think of in the product catalog. For example, product category, product attribute, or any aspect that you can think of in the product world. Each of them will be a template in the product catalog model. And then you have the Commerce Connect abstract service layers. You have the cart, pricing, customers, inventory, orders, and then you have the API for product synchronization. And Commerce Connect by default ships with the the marketing related stuff like conditional rendering rules, engagement plans with actions, and page events or goals. So these are some of the pre-built uh, analytics related stuff. On the top you have the commerce website or web shop, and then on top of the Commerce Connect core framework, you have your own implementation of the some of the pipelines. So this basically, whatever the customization that you write which is specific to different e-commerce systems, that is actually called as a connector, or you can simply say it is your own module or plugin. So this module or plugin or connector, whatever we call, is used to connect Sitecore Commerce, the Commerce Connect. It's basically connecting your Sitecore system to external commerce systems. So you usually don't store your products in Sitecore by default. In most cases your products are stored in the external commerce systems, and then you use the Sitecore Commerce Connect modules or plugins or connector, whatever you can call it, to bring in your product data into the Sitecore. So the external commerce systems are of different types. Sitecore Commerce Server, it can be a new commerce system, NOP Commerce, or any other different external commerce systems. So the code that we are going to write here, the plugins, they are going to be different for different e-commerce systems, because the e-commerce system, the external e-commerce systems, they expose data in different format. For example, one, you know the API URLs of each commerce systems are going to be different, or the data format of the data exposed from the e-commerce systems are going to be different. So depending on the data that you are getting from the external commerce systems, your code is going to be different. So let's talk about connector. So Commerce Connect is made up of pipelines that connect with Sitecore. Like I said, the Commerce Connect basically ships with default configuration files, and if you look in the configuration files, you will see that there are pipelines in every configuration file, whether it is cart or wish list or orders.config file. You look in any file, there will be a list of pipelines, and some of these pipelines are already implemented and some of them are supposed to be implemented by us, the developers. So why it is? Because the commerce systems are going to be different. The Commerce Connect is not specifically tied to any e-commerce system, whether it is not specifically tied to Sitecore Commerce, the Sitecore Commerce engine, whatever we are talking about. So when you want to connect the Sitecore with Sitecore the XC Commerce, we need to write your own code, or the Sitecore itself ships with the Commerce um, engine connect, Commerce engine connect, which is basically a connector that connects the Sitecore with the Sitecore Commerce engine. So similarly, if you want to connect Sitecore to an external commerce system like Inside Commerce, so you need to write, implement some of these pipelines that are left blank in the configuration files. If you go through the configurations files, you will see that it's clearly mentioned, intentionally left blank, because they are going to be different. Some of the pipeline processors are empty in places where processors for external commerce systems are expected. So these are these are this what I was talking as these are the pipelines that I talked, saying that we need to implement these pipelines. We can use our own configuration file to patch custom code. So if you have your custom code, you can use you can write your own custom configuration files and then use the patch attribute to override existing configuration. An external commerce system connector consists of pipeline processors that connect with specific commerce system and uses its own configuration files to patch or replace existing pipeline processors. Yeah, so Normally when we write our own connector, I mean the connector is basically an implementation of few pipelines. So when you write your own connector, it's probably a good idea to have your own configuration files and then use the patch or patch attribute to replace the existing pipeline processors. For example, you know you might want to delete some existing default pipeline processors, and you know you want to um, you want to run your pipeline processor in place of it. So in those cases you can um, use the patch attribute. Here is an example of pipeline that you can see in the configuration files. So commerce dot order start submit visitor order, this is a pipeline, and then inside you have a processor, and type is equals to the class that we have written. This class is not part of the Sitecore Commerce Connect, so this is something that we have written on for our own customization. Now in this case, this particular submit visitor order to insight is located in the b2b.extensions library, and when the user on the website clicks on submit order, this pipeline gets triggered, and then the custom code that we have written talks to insight to create an order in the insight commerce system. So similarly, if you are using in any other e-commerce system such as uCommerce, you would write code in this particular class, or any class that you create that will talk to that specific uCommerce system and create an order inside it. It's probably you have some API calls that is exposed by uCommerce system that allows you to create an order. And then you see this patch. It's basically you can use the patch attribute to you know execute this particular processor before triggering before some other processor that is already in the configuration file. So in this case, I'm just making sure that my order is submitted to insight before the trigger order goal processor. So it will trigger the goal only after this particular submit visitor order to insight is successful. And then this particular class that we have written, it also takes a parameter in the constructor. So that is what we are given as param ref insight client Scott client. Okay, so this pipeline submits an order to the external commerce system. Multiple processors can be added to execute one after another. So it's not necessary that there should be only one processor. You can have multiple processors, and each of them will be executed one after another. This is an example of the code that we have written to submit the order to an inside commerce system. In this particular case, when the user adds products to cart, this particular pipeline, the custom code gets triggered, and then what we are doing basically here is calling the insight API inside this cart client class to add that specific product to the cart. So this is the product repository. Now once you have the Commerce Connect package installed, I mean the first thing that you do is installing the Commerce Connect package. Now the Sitecore XC9, when you install, it's basically all automated. So the framework, the SIF Sitecore installation framework, that basically takes care of all the making sure that it install all the necessary modules, and then now making necessary configuration changes, everything. So if you are doing this manually, you probably download the Commerce Connect package and install it manually. But in the Sitecore XC9 you use the SIF modules that does all the work. So once you have the installation done, and if you go to the content editor in your Sitecore instance, this is the product repository that you see. It basically has you have the root folder called product repository, and then you have the different folders that hold different sets of data. So once you have the if you have the necessary configuration done, you can change the product repository location in appconfig include sitecore.commerce.products.config. Okay, so if you want to it's not necessary that the product repository folder is always in this particular location, sitecore/content/home or sitecore/content/product repository. It's not necessary that it is always needs to be here. You can keep it anywhere, and then you can go to this configuration file and change the location setting. And once you have this Commerce Connect package installed, and then you make sure that the configuration files in the configuration file your URL points to that specific external commerce system. In my case, I need to make sure that my configuration points to the inside commerce API. So once you update that, and then you click on Sitecore synchronize all process products, and then it's basically going to sync all the products and pull it into this particular products uh, folder. It's basically going to create buckets for depending on the number of products you have, it will create buckets based on the date, and then it will create subfolders under the date. For example, if you're doing a sync today, you're clicking on synchronize all products now, it's going to create a folder on today's date, and then it will create subfolders based on the products that are being created. Product synchronization. So external commerce systems store product data in different ways. Sitecore has built-in mechanism to create products under content tree. So uses pipelines. So like I mentioned, the product synchronization model is going to be different for different external commerce system. So this is the custom code that you are going to write. The custom code is going to pull the products from external commerce system, and then it will just give it to the Sitecore Commerce Connect, which has the the necessary process in place to create the models, the product items based on the product catalog model templates. For example, if you have if you have a product, for each product in the external commerce system, it's going to create a product an item under products based on the product template. And once you have the product pulled in, then the synchronization mechanism will also pull all the necessary or the all the product attributes, and then the manufacturer information, category information of the products. And then you in the product synchronization you also have data provider model, and where the items are virtual. In the product synchronization model, you basically all the products in the external commerce systems are pulled, and they are created as items in the Sitecore. And then once you have these items, they need to be published and then indexed before you actually use them on your site. In the data provider model, you will see the items, but they are virtual. They don't um, exist in your Sitecore. Okay, whenever you click on the content tree, they products are basically pulled from the external commerce system and displayed to you. So the Sitecore XC9 uses the data provider model. So if you go into the content tree and then look in the products, you will see the products, but they are not actually in Sitecore. And the last one is the hybrid model. So it's basically a combination of the two models above, the product synchronization model and data provider model. You know, you can use combine these two models and then accordingly, depending on what suits you, where you can use, in some cases you can use the product synchronization model, and some cases you can use the data provider model. So this slide is about the what is the basic process that goes on in the product synchronization. So when you click on synchronize all products button, the ribbon, it gets all the products from the external commerce system. It's basically calling a API, and then it will evaluate which products to synchronize. It's basically doing a comparison of last modified date on the product and then last sync date. It will only sync the products which are modified since the last sync date. It's basically an performance optimization stuff. It only makes sense to sync only the products that are modified. Synchronize product, and this is going to create items under the product repository. It reads the product entity from external commerce system, and then it also syncs the product attributes. Usually product will have attributes, right? So for example, color, style, width, height, all this stuff. So all these attributes are also created as items under the product. And the last thing is update the product list. So this is going to delete any products removed in ECS. ECS is the external commerce system. So if the system finds that there are some products in Sitecore but they are not in the external commerce system, so the items in the Sitecore are going to be deleted. So we'll talk about Sitecore XC9. So this is the newly introduced platform from Sitecore. It's a single integrated platform, content, commerce, and analytics. Basically, gives you an advantage that the Sitecore, when the Sitecore content and the commerce and analytics platforms are integrated, we don't have to use different systems to do these things separately. All the the important content, commerce, and analytics are coming under a single product umbrella. Then provides business tools managing catalog, order, pricing, and promotions. This is basically the front end tools that your merchandising team in your company, the sales people, or who are responsible for managing orders and then fulfillment. They use the front end tools. So the Sitecore XC9 ships with the necessary front end tools to do this. Plug and play architecture. Specific functionality can be added without touching existing library. Oh, what this says is that if you look in the Sitecore XC9, even the existing the functionality, they are all implemented as plugins. So for example, if you take the orders functionality, that is implemented in its own separate DLL, it's basically built as a plugin. It's basically also serves as a model for how a custom functionality can be implemented. And then you can scale based on different roles. have separate instances to serve different traffic. This is basically somewhat different. You can have separate instances on your website, on your AS, each of them serving different purposes. For example, commerce authoring, this is only going to be used by the business tools. So business tools is where you manage your products, right? For example, you want to update a product title, that is where you go to the business tools and update the product title. You want to change the price, you go to the business tools. You want to you know cancel an order that is been cancelled by the user, you go to the business tools. So the business tools talk to the commerce authoring basically means that you know creating, modifying, deleting, all this stuff. And then the next thing is commerce minions. This is basically responsible for running backend jobs. For example, doing the indexing, or you know you know submitting order to an external ERP. This kind of stuff is what you can do under the minions role. you know if you are going to write some plugin that can bring in products from an external master data management system, you probably put those plugins, because product synchronization is something that is going to run for some time. So those jobs that are going to run longer, you can usually put them into the minions instance. And then commerce ops, this is specifically used for DevOps purposes. And then you have commerce shops. This is the instance that serves the user traffic, external users traffic. So your website, the commerce website is going to talk to the uh, Sitecore XC9 instance of commerce shops. So it's basically when you say Sitecore Experience Commerce, uh, it's built, or the main one of the main component is commerce engine. This is the commerce system that provides you all the functionality. It's thin ASP.NET Core application. It's full-fledged e-commerce platform. So it full-fledged, when I say full-fledged, it has all the necessary functionality that you can think of in any e-commerce platform, like a mature e-commerce platform. And then services are exposed as OData or REST-based APIs. Yes, this supports OData. You can also go with the simple REST-based APIs. So business tools are built on Angular and speaks to the REST APIs. So the business tools that we internally use uh, within the organization, they are built on the Angular framework, and then they talk to the REST APIs. There are set of plugins provided along with the product. So like I mentioned, the plugins for orders, cards, customer, these things are built as plugins. So they are just an example. I mean, you can use them as an example of you can create your own plugins and extend the commerce engine functionality. Users can build custom plugins. Yes. Okay, this slide, now look at the commerce engine schema. So this basically gives an idea of how commerce engine stores data. So on the top of the commerce engine schema, you have the commerce entity. So basically the core artifact. So any information that is stored in the commerce engine, uh, it's basically an instance of commerce entity. For example, if you take a product, if you take an order, all these are derived from the commerce entity. If you look at the commerce entity, there is a component, there is a property called components. This is basically the extension point for any custom data that you want to store. For example, if you have some custom attributes, custom attributes that you want to put in the product, you can use this components property and then store any custom data. uh, the commerce engine schema is based on the schema.org. So if you look at the schema.org, the product table, the same structure is used by the commerce engine. So you usually in most cases, in the business scenarios, the customers always have some data that is not directly uh, directly that you cannot directly map to the existing customer, the product entity. So in those instances, you can go with the extension of components, using the components property here and store your custom data. Okay. So this slide talk about, so this is the commerce engine connect. This is the connector plugin that is provided by Sitecore. This basically connects your Sitecore with the commerce engine. On the top, let's say that you have a user, and then the user is on the website, web shop. Commerce Connect, the abstract service layers are here, and then under the bottom you have the Sitecore XP. The service layer, the abstract service layer, they are the commerce, they talk to the commerce engine connect. Now, for example, whenever the user adds a product to cart, these abstract layers, the pipelines, whatever the pipelines that are defined in the configuration files, they basically invoke the class that is implemented in the commerce engine connect. So this is a custom code that we usually write, but in the case of Sitecore XC9, the Sitecore provides you the commerce engine connect. So when the user adds the item to cart, it calls the specific class inside the commerce engine connect, and then that class is responsible for talking to the Sitecore commerce. The commerce engine is here. So Sitecore commerce engine connects Sitecore and commerce engine. You can see this is the specific DLL where all the commerce engine connect code is implemented in this DLL. This overrides or implements the pipeline processors defined in commerce connect and talks to the commerce engine. Yeah, so like I said, some of the pipelines are intentionally left blank, so these are supposed to be implemented by our custom code if you are using Sitecore commerce engine. So you don't have to, so if you are using Sitecore experience commerce 9, you don't have to do any customization, because commerce engine connect is already provided to you by Sitecore as part of the Sitecore experience commerce. So we can take a note here. For example, when the user adds item to cart, this particular processor is getting invoked. It's located in the sitecore.commerce.engine.connect.pipelines.carts.add cartlines. So this is the DLL that I mentioned. Yeah, this is the DLL. And then you also have, you basically removing some DLLs, some processors that are not necessary. These processors that are part of the default configuration are not necessary so they are getting removed. Customizing commerce engine. So build a plugin. This is basically, we are going to look into how we can extend the commerce engine functionality in the form of plugins. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can contact me on LinkedIn, search for Siddaraju.s. You can also follow my blog medium.com/@siddaraju.s. Thank you.